This tutorial is going to teach you how to make an elevator pitch. If you had 3 minutes to change the world, could you do it? Essentially, as advocates, it's our job to be prepared and be in a position that when we have an opportunity to have the important conversations, that we can deliver. In order to do that, we have to know what our message is, we have to develop that message, and we have to practice that message so that when we get that opportunity, we can strike. Here's my pitch. My name is Holly Woodard, and I'm a high school English teacher in a high-achieving district in Bucks County. For the past 20 years, I've taught English in the inclusion setting, and I've always thought I was a great special education teacher. But then the universe gave me a special education child, and I realized I actually knew nothing. I have a special needs son with multiple disabilities that includes dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyspraxia, ADHD, anxiety, and a physical disability. Out of all the disabilities that my son deals with, it is the dyslexia that has been most problematic. Trauma associated with not being properly taught to read in elementary school was so pervasive that when he was 9 years old, his doctor determined that he was high risk for suicide. Sadly, my son is not alone in this struggle, as dyslexia is the most common learning disability impacting 1 in 5 students, and according to the Yale Dyslexia Institute, it accounts for 80 to 90% of all learning disabilities. Fortunately, research has proven that dyslexics can read. They just need a multisensory reading program based on the research of Orton and Gillingham. Sadly, this isn't being provided in schools, which has detrimental consequences. Research has proven that when dyslexics aren't properly supported in public education, they become 3 times more likely than their non-disabled peers to engage in high-risk behavior like suicide, addiction, and criminal activity. This was recently validated in the First Step Act, a recent bipartisan bill that was signed into law by President Trump that recognized a disproportionate amount of dyslexics in prison when compared to the general population. As a result, the bill stated that the multisensory instruction based on the work of Orton and Gillingham be provided to all inmates flagged as potentially being dyslexic as part of their rehabilitation. However, we can do more. With top-to-down educational reform to include dyslexia education as part of state certification requirements, early screening and intervention starting as early as 3 years old, and oversight of public schools to ensure that our most vulnerable students' needs are being met, we can help to support our most vulnerable students. Would you be willing to work with me on this, or perhaps we can meet at another time to discuss this further? Now, my pitch had some essential parts to it. I essentially took my listener on a journey. The first part was the hook. The second part was personal anecdote. Then I stated the problem. I provided proof of the problem, then a solution, and I appealed for help. My hook was recognizing that I was a special education teacher who thought I was good at the job and that I had a special education child and realized that I knew nothing. The personal anecdote was when I identified my son's learning disabilities. I stated the problem and I provided statistics to do so. I had proof of the problem, which showed that this was something that was happening in society that people were looking at and trying to change when I talked about the federal prison reform. And then I provided a solution with specific steps. Finally, I asked for help. The idea is we don't want to run them down and provide them with too much information. We want to make sure that our points are succinct and that we provide them just enough information for them to walk away thinking about what we had said. In addition, we want to leave the door open for an additional meeting. Hopefully, this tutorial will provide you with the skills that you need to be able to change the world if given those 3 minutes. Good luck.